So absolutely, right now is not the time to buy in Istanbul if you're not going to do your research, you're not going to understand what's happening, you're not going to understand the developments in the economy, you're not going to understand the kind of the happenings in this geographical region, if you're not going to understand that I need to actually look at something other than, hey, this is something pretty, right? Hi, I'm Justin Mace, and welcome to Turkey Explained. Today, I think it's important that we go through why buying a property in Istanbul does not make sense today. What does that mean? Why should we not buy a property today? Let's look at inflation that's the highest in 40 years, which is showing some slowing, but still hasn't given the relief to the Turks and the people living in Turkey alike, the type of relief that they've been expecting. So when we counter this with the soaring rental prices, with overinflation in the country, it just doesn't lead to making a whole lot of financial sense for someone looking to invest in Turkey. But that doesn't mean that opportunities doesn't exist, but it means you have to really pay attention to where you're investing, what you're investing in, where you plan to spend your money, how you're going to spend your money, who you're going to spend your money with, who's advising you, are the interests genuine? You know, these are the kind of the same old riddles that we've been going through for the last 5-6 years in the Turkish market, but we're really at a critical mass point here, because what we're seeing is we're seeing areas that have been pushed so heavily in the past now are becoming really dead zones for foreign investment. You know, we're taking a look at example. Let's just name a couple of these areas that are really prime areas for foreign investors, but investors aren't seeing the type of return that they deserve. So if you look at Beylikdüzü, if we look at Esenyurt, if we look at Kartal, these kind of places where a lot of foreign investors have been attracted to because of the marketing from the foreign agencies, because of the kind of attractive price point. But what investors don't know when they're coming into Turkey is that Beylikdüzü, Esenyurt, Kartal, these areas were under $500 per square meter in 2020, and we're only at now above 1,100, 1,200 US dollars per square meter in Beylikdüzü, under $1,000 per square meter in Esenyurt, around the same for Kartal, in line with Beylikdüzü. But then the average in Istanbul is over 2,200 USD. So if you're looking at that as a buyer, avoid that area. Avoid what's going on right now. In the past, I've really had a hard time dealing with clients who had a budget, let's say, of $200,000, $250,000, $300,000. This isn't because I don't feel that these clients deserve, their utmost attention and the utmost guidance. And in fact, it's the exact opposite. But what I see here in Turkey is, when you're coming and you're using basically your entire life savings to make an investment, to free up a little bit of your livelihood, to have some financial freedom, to have some expendable monthly income. When you're making an investment with that return, with that capital, you're very cautious and you're overlooking into where you need to be, what you need to do. You talk to 10,000 people, you get different advice here, you get different advice there. And then Beylikdüzü and Esenyurt and Kartal has really been the hub of these investment areas for buyers with a budget under $300,000. And it's really a shame to me, because those guys who are putting their trust and their effort into the Turkish system, into us as advisors and agents, we're really doing them a disservice, because the numbers don't lie. People do, but numbers don't lie. And if we're looking at the last 4-year performance, We're talking about Istanbul was right over 1,100, and now the average is over 2,200, and we've even peaked at around 2,700 early last year. You know, we're seeing that the trends for those locations are continuing to trend down. So the guy that invested their money into these locations in 2020, 2021, and yes, the price point was low, they haven't been able to capitalize on their investment. And this is a horrible, horrible thing. This has really done a lot of damage to Turkey's reputation in the international real estate scheme. It's, you know, people are now, we're seeing, and it's unfortunate for what it is, but we're seeing that the Turkish buyers of 2020, 2021, 2022, early part of 2023, a lot of them have shifted their interest, and now they're looking at Dubai as an investment opportunity. And how can you blame them when us as agents have always led them to, you know, these areas where we felt that we could actually sell them something, we can still make a little bit of money, we're putting into a new project, etc. But we didn't take into consideration the fact that we're putting them to a place that they're just not going to make any money. And this was the biggest damage to the Turkish market. This is why right now, if you have $200,000, if you have $300,000, find an agent who is going to find you something off plan, find you something in the city center that's going to take their time to walk you through and explain what is the square meter price, what is the rise in potential. Show facts and figures, someone who's going to give you data points rather than just an opinion, because everyone has an opinion, but the data points will give you an accurate indication of where you're going. Look at areas like Kaatani, look at areas like Eyüp, look at areas, there's even these areas around Vadi Istanbul, which is well over on average 4,800 USD per square meter. You're having areas now where you can get in at 4,800, and this is a brand new project. So even with the inflation, even with the construction costs and the material costs being exponentially higher than they were in 2020, you can essentially buy in at prices from 2020, 2021. This is going to allow you to capitalize on rent. It's going to allow you to capitalize on capital growth, and this is going to improve your overall IRR in the long run. I'm seeing now, if you're looking at areas, if you've got an investment, let's say $350,000, $400,000, you go into these areas around the premium regions, you're looking at IRRs around 12.5%, 13%. I've seen upwards of 14 and 15% depending where you really focus. So there are opportunities, but as the market stands and as the agents stand on the put you wherever so you can just buy something, it looks nice, it looks like a nice area, but you don't understand the demographics, you don't understand where it's at, it doesn't benefit you. Please, I'm begging you, as someone who is trying to help steer the market in a more professional direction, and it's not going to just be me. There's multiple agents. There's 20, 25 agencies in this market who are really focused on doing the right thing for clients. But it's going to take your research, and it's going to have to take starting to trust the consultant. But you have to test the consultant first. This is my recommendation. Test them. Do they understand basics, I'm getting mumble-jumbled here, because do they understand what price per square meter is? Do they understand IRR? Do they understand ROI? Are they giving you the typical Turkish answers of the past? 6% ROI on rental return and 150% growth over 3 years. That's not the reality in every situation. It is the reality in some projects, especially right now. If you've got $1 million plus, right now is the time to come into Istanbul. There are projects where you can get 5.5% ROI, rental ROI annually, but you can legitimately expect 40, 45% in 3 years on your return. So if you look at your overall IRR, you're looking at almost 15.5% on 5 years. So, if you're somebody that's just investment focused and you've got the budget to do so, then there are a lot of options that we can recommend. We want to focus on areas by the sea because this is very important for luxury buyers, luxury renters. What keeps the premium rent? What's driving them to the area? Sea is always going to drive people into wanting to rent in these areas. Being close to historic areas, being close to touristic areas, being close to transport. All of these areas are going to, kind of package it up and deliver a product to the potential renter, your potential client, that is then going to be much more interested in renting something and renting it at a high dollar value. For example, if you're coming in at $1 million, you can realistically expect 4,500 to 5,000 USD in rent. And that's unheard of in the Turkish market of the past. $5,000 was a villa in Khmer country, that you were going to have to pay $3-4 million to get into. That's no longer the case. I mean, just taking a look here right now, rental prices over the last 4 years have increased by 112%, and this is in US dollar terms. So consider inflation, devaluation of the lira, etc. Over the last 4 years, rental values have increased by 112%. Now, if you rented it 4 years ago, you're probably not able to capitalize on that due to the rental laws that do not allow you to raise it past the government's limit, which is set to this year 65%. Today it's 65%, but post-COVID was set at 25%. So you may be sitting there and saying, well, I bought 4 years ago and I'm not able to experience that. Yes, I understand that. And unfortunately, a lot of the politics that happened here after COVID kind of held the rental prices in check. But this was also to kind of fight with the inflation efforts. So this is something where we have to understand both sides. You've made tremendous gains on the capital appreciation side. You weren't necessarily able to, receive those returns in rental yet. But if you're at the 5-year mark and you're able to now reset and readjust the rent and either say to the tenant, you know what, it's time for you to move on legally, or you can say, hey, here's my rent, this is the amount that I want, here's market value, pay it or leave. And unfortunately, this is the reality of the real estate market. We have to understand that, okay, a year, 2 years trying to remove a tenant based on, asking them to pay something that they're not able to probably isn't the most ethical thing to do. Financially, maybe, but the 5-year mark, that's given by Turkish law. You can increase it. You start returning, you start able to return these, start receiving this return on your rents. And now your investment becomes much more profitable. But where did you invest? That's going to be highly critical to the type of returns you're going to see. So absolutely, right now is not the time to buy in Istanbul if you're not going to do your research, you're not going to understand what's happening, you're not going to understand the developments in the economy, you're not going to understand the kind of the happenings in this geographical region, if you're not going to understand that I need to actually look at something other than, hey, this is something pretty, right? This looks good, it must be fantastic. Oh, this one's a 1-bedroom and 77 square meters, but this is a 2-bedroom with 102 square meters. But you know what? This one, I don't care about the location. This one's in a premium location, but this one's same price and I get more space. Okay. But then realize that's not an investment. That's now a personal decision. And a personal decision, you can't hold your consultant responsible for. So work with your consultants, understand what kind of information they can provide. How can they help you? If they can help you, if they can guide you, if they can provide you reasonable options, if they can show you real value, if they can provide data points, then maybe buying in Istanbul right now makes a little bit of sense. But again, homework, research, well, that's kind of the same, isn't it? So that's redundant. Data points, locations, demographics. This is very critical to the success of your investment. So let's do one thing right now. Let's do this. Let's understand where Turkey was, where Turkey's going, and how your investment can make sense now. Turkey was in the last 20 years, a country that has been emerging to now be the 19th largest economy in the world. Yes, we're facing inflation issues. Yes, we're facing problems in the economy. Yes, people are upset because they feel that some foreign investors have an unfair advantage because they're not aware of what's actually taking place in the real estate market. But when we take a look at the overall health of the Turkish system, education, healthcare, actually economics, we're looking at, just do a quick search, you can see that we're forecasted for about a 4% GDP growth, even with the inflation issues. I believe Bank of America Turkey just came out with their report last week saying that inflation is looking at 46%, starting to probably see rate cuts in the coming year. What's that mean? That means a returning Turkish buyer en masse to the Turkish market. What's that mean? Growth in prices again. What's that mean? Growth in rental prices again. So all of these things are going to start to balance out over the next several years. And, a good investor will go into these areas and go into these locations when things are not always fantastic on the surface, but they see the potential. You have to invest in the potential. And if you do, your homework and you follow the data sets, then, you're not taking a lot of risk. You're setting yourself up for a really low risk, really high reward opportunity. Look at projects, Yedi Mavi, Vadi Premium. You've got a couple of other places in Göktürk. There's some off-plan projects in Etiler, Beşiktaş that I'd be happy to talk about. These options are allowing you to get in at prices just in the local area that are 20%, 30% below market value. So you purchase today, you've already got built-in equity because the project next door of the same A-grade quality and the same type and features is allowing you to purchase at 30% below their market prices. So you are already setting yourself up for success. So how do you set yourself up for success? How do you set yourself up for the right investment? How do you take the time to ensure that you're going to be profitable? It takes time, it takes research. And me and the other agents out there who want to see you do good and succeed, we do exist. I know that the Turkish market has gotten a really bad name over the last few years because people are trying to take advantage of people coming in. But we have to clean the market one client at a time, one positive experience at a time. We have to sit here as agents and certified agents, licensed agents. Ask your agent for their license, for their real estate license. That's just a simple one that you can do to make sure that you're being taken care of by a professional. Ask them for their license and then say, hey, let's go through the data, the facts, and the figures. Let's take out the emotion and let's peel back and say, here's an opportunity because of X, Y, Z. Here's an opportunity because, you see this? Here's this next door. Here's that here. Those are the things that will allow you to be successful. If you don't want to do that, now is not the time to buy in Istanbul. If you want to take advice and do your homework and follow the data, now's the time to buy.